Today, we are opening up a file that, I'll be honest, I was a little skeptical about when I first saw the header. It's about astrology.
Mm-hmm.
But before you reach for the skip button, let me tell you, this is not about horoscopes.
Yeah.
It's not about whether you're going to win the lottery or, meet a tall, dark stranger next Tuesday.
No, definitely not. If you're looking for lucky numbers, you're in the wrong place. We aren't doing the newspaper column thing today.
Exactly. The stack of notes and articles we're working through today centers on a concept called inner astrology, and the premise is actually, it's quite radical. It suggests that the reason so many of us feel a background hum of anxiety or heaviness isn't because we're broken, but because of how we were built to survive.
Right.
It's astrology for the people who are tired of trying to fix themselves.
That's the key word right there. Survival. We are moving away from astrology as a personality test. I'm a Leo, so I like attention. And looking at it as a structural map of your nervous system.
A structural map.
Yeah, it's about the architecture of your experience, not just a label you slap on a dating profile.
It's a total re-education. And to kick this off, I want to start where the source material starts. It describes a very specific feeling. It calls it the unnamed heaviness.
It's a powerful phrase, isn't it? It immediately grounds the conversation.
It really hit me.
Yeah.
Because it's not describing, acute depression. It's not talking about the days where a tragedy has happened. It's talking about the baseline.
The everyday.
Yeah. You wake up, you feed the cat, you go to your job, you're functioning. On paper, you might even be killing it. You're reading the self-help books, you're drinking the green juice. But there is this subtle, persistent weight. Like you can never quite fully exhale.
Right. It's the sensation that life is effortful. Just
Mm-hmm.
more effortful than it seems like it should be for everyone else.
Yeah.
Like you're walking through water while everyone else is walking through air.
Yes. That's it. It's the feeling of carrying something invisible. And I think for most people, myself included, when we feel that, the immediate reaction is self-blame. We pathologize it.
Of course.
We say, I'm just being weak, or I'm too sensitive, or why is this so hard for me when everyone else seems to be breezing through?
That is the default setting for the modern adult. We assume that if we feel resistance, it's a character flaw. We think, if I were just better or stronger or more spiritual, this would be easy.
But this material offers a completely different lens.
A totally different lens. It argues that this struggle isn't a flaw, it's structural.
Structural. That's a mechanical word for feelings.
It is, but it's accurate. Think of a building. If a building is designed to withstand earthquakes, it has a certain flexibility built into the frame.
Okay.
If it's designed for heavy snow, it has a steep roof. The structure dictates how it interacts with the environment. The argument here is that your birth chart is the blueprint of how your unique organism, your body, learned to survive its early environment.
So the heaviness we feel isn't us failing at life. It's the weight of the armor we built to get through it.
Precisely. You aren't broken. You are a highly adapted survivor. And the heaviness is usually the cost of that adaptation.
The cost of the armor.
It's the cost of carrying the earthquake proofing when you're no longer in an earthquake zone.
I love that. The cost of adaptation. Okay, so to understand this cost, we have to look at the map. And usually when people look at the astrological map, they stop at the front door. They look at the sun sign.
The sun sign. The gateway drug of astrology.
It is. It's the first thing you learn. I'm a Taurus. I'm a Gemini.
Yeah.
And the sources point out that there is a huge initial appeal to this. It gives you an identity. It's almost like sorting yourself into a Hogwarts house.
It offers language, which is very seductive. Suddenly you have a category. Oh, I'm intense because I'm a Scorpio. I'm organized because I'm a Virgo. There's a massive validation in being defined.
It simplifies everything.
It feels good to belong to a type. It simplifies the chaos of being a human.
But then the cracks start to show. And this is where the skeptics usually check out. And you know what? Rightly so. You meet someone with the exact same sun sign as you, born the same week, and they are nothing like you. Or, more importantly, you read the description of your sign, and sure, it might describe your hobbies or your general vibe.
Yeah, the surface stuff.
But it doesn't touch that heaviness we talked about. It doesn't explain why you wake up anxious at 3 a.m.
And that is the crucial distinction that inner astrology makes. Sun sign astrology, as we typically consume it in magazines or apps, deals with conscious identity.
What does that mean, conscious identity?
It represents your purpose, your direction, your conscious will.
So it's like the CEO of the self.
Exactly. The sun is the CEO. It's the part of you that sets goals. It's the part of you that says, I am going to run a marathon, or I am going to be a better partner, or I want to be a writer. It's the narrative you tell about yourself.
It's the hero of the movie,
It's the hero of your movie, yes.
but suffering doesn't check in with the CEO.
No. Suffering doesn't schedule a meeting. Suffering lives in the nervous system. It lives in emotional memory. It lives in those reflexive, split-second reactions that happen before your conscious mind even comes online.
That is a huge aha moment for me. So when life feels hard, truly hard, it's not because your identity is struggling, it's because your body is reacting.
Right. Think about the moments that actually derail you. It's rarely a philosophical debate you're having with yourself.
No.
It's a surge of panic in a meeting. It's a sudden shutdown when your partner uses a certain tone of voice. It's exhaustion that hits you out of nowhere. That is not the sun's territory. That belongs to the rest of the chart. The moon, the ascendant, the aspects. That is the survival structure.
So we need to stop looking at the chart as a personality test, like a cosmic Myers-Briggs, and start looking at it as a map of adaptation.
A survival map. That is the term used in the source text. The birth chart isn't telling you who you are in a static sense. It is showing you how you adapted to the environment you were born into.
The history book.
It's historical documentation of your nervous system's development.
Let's unpack adaptation, because that implies a response to something specific. We aren't just adapted in a vacuum. We adapt to something.
Correct. And this is where we have to bring in a bit of developmental psychology alongside the astrology. When we are children, we are totally powerless over our environment. We don't choose our parents, our socioeconomic status, or the emotional climate of our home.
You're just dropped into it.
You are just thrown into it. And the human imperative, the biological imperative, is to survive.
And survival for a child isn't just food and shelter. It's connection.
It's attachment. If a caregiver rejects you in the primal brain, that equals death. A human infant cannot survive alone.
Right.
So the chart shows us where was safety available and where was it unstable? And most importantly, what did you have to do to maintain that connection?
This is fascinating. So the chart is basically recording, okay, this area is safe, proceed. This area is dangerous, put up a wall.
Exactly. It's a record of where your nervous system learned to cope. Two people can have the exact same sun sign. Let's say they are both Sagittarians, generally known for being optimistic and freedom-loving.
Okay.
But one of them might have a chart structure, specifically a moon placement or hard aspects, that indicates early emotional instability, while the other had a very secure base.
So their optimism comes from two different places.
Completely different engines. One might be optimistic because they fundamentally feel safe in the world. They trust that things will work out because historically, for them, they have.
Their optimism is earned. It's real.
It is. The other one, their Sagittarius sun, might be optimistically bypassing their pain because they learned that showing sadness was dangerous in their childhood home.
Wow. So the behavior looks the same. They're both smiling, but the internal cost is totally different.
And that's why the heaviness exists for the second person. They are performing optimism as a survival strategy, which takes a massive amount of energy.
They're
essentially acting for their lives every single day.
Let's get into the specifics of these adaptations. The notes list some examples of how children adjust to their environments, and I think these will resonate with a lot of listeners.
Sure. Let's look at the scenario where safety is inconsistent.
Okay.
Maybe the parent is loving one minute and angry the next. Or maybe the parent is struggling with their own issues, addiction, depression, and is just not present. The child can't predict what's coming.
So what does the nervous system do?
It wakes up. Okay. It becomes, well, hypervigilant.
He gets vigilant.
That child learns to read the room instantly. They track micro-expressions. They listen to the tone of footsteps in the hallway. Is dad walking heavy? Is mom sighing?
They become little meteorologists of the emotional climate.
Exactly. And now, fast forward 30 years, that child is now an adult who calls themselves anxious or an overthinker.
But originally, that wasn't a disorder.
No. Originally, that was brilliance. That was a high-level solution to a dangerous problem. If they hadn't been vigilant, they might have been hurt. They learned to anticipate the threat before it arrived.
It's reframing the symptom as a skill.
What about the shutdown response? I know a lot of people who struggle with feeling numb or disconnected.
Yeah, that's another common one. If emotions are overwhelming in the household, maybe there is chaos or screaming or just too much intensity, the child might learn that feeling things is too expensive.
Too costly.
It costs too much energy to process all that drama. So they pull the plug, they go numb, they retreat into their heads or their rooms.
And later in life?
Later in life, they might be called emotionally distant or cold. But again, that distance was originally a shield. It was how they survived the flood.
Or the one that hits home for a lot of overachievers, if love is conditional.
The performance trap. This is a very common adaptation. If a child learns that they receive warmth only when they are good or quiet or getting good grades, they learn to perform.
They become the perfect little adult.
They mature quickly. They become the easy child or the little adult.
She's so mature for her age. We say that like it's a compliment. But developmentally, it's often a tragedy. It means the child has sacrificed their childhood to secure attachment.
They treated their spontaneity for safety.
Yes, and the cost of that is a lifelong feeling that you are only as valuable as your last success. You can never stop working, because if you stop, you disappear.
And this creates that tension we were talking about at the beginning.
Yeah.
Because these strategies, vigilance, shutting down, performing, they require energy. They are active states of defense.
And that is the definition of the heaviness. You are walking around carrying the weight of a survival strategy that you might not even need anymore.
You're wearing a suit of armor in the grocery store.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's heavy, it's hot, and it's exhausting, but your body doesn't know the war is over.
So if the sun is our conscious identity, where does this survival mechanism live in the chart? What are we looking for?
The primary seat of this struggle, the engine room of adaptation, is the moon.
The moon, okay, in pop astrology, the moon is usually described as your feelings or your inner self. Like, I have a Gemini moon, so I talk about my feelings, or I have a Cancer moon, so I cry at commercials.
Which is fine as far as it goes. It's descriptive, but it misses the depth of what the moon actually represents in a structural analysis. The moon isn't just how you emote.
Oh, what is it then?
The moon represents emotional deficiency.
Deficiency. That sounds harsh. That sounds like something is missing.
It can sound that way, but it's actually very validating. The moon points to the area where your needs were not reliably met or mirrored when you were developing.
Okay.
And we have to be clear here, this doesn't require horrific trauma. We aren't just talking about abuse. It can be a subtle mismatch.
Like what? Give me an example of a subtle mismatch that could cause a moon wound.
Okay. Imagine a child who is naturally very sensitive, quiet, and introspective, maybe a Pisces or Cancer moon type, but they are born into a family of fire signs, loud, boisterous, joking, wrestling.
A lot of energy.
A ton of energy, and the parents love the child, they feed the child, they hug the child, but they don't get the child. When the child cries, the parents say, "Oh, toughen up, we're just playing, don't be such a baby."
So the child is loved but not seen.
Exactly. Or being cared for, physically fed, clothed, driven to soccer, but not soothed emotionally. Being supported financially, but not held. These are deficiencies. And because the nervous system doesn't learn these in that area, it learns strategy.
It goes back to strategy. The moon is the strategist.
Always. The moon is where we strategize to get our needs met or to protect ourselves from the pain of them not being met. The notes mention a few specific moon strategies: hyper-responsiveness, emotional withdrawal, overgiving, self-containment.
Let's talk about overgiving. I think people often view that as a virtue. Oh, she's so generous. She's such a giver.
It's socially rewarded, yes, but
Right.
structurally, compulsive overgiving is often a moon strategy. It's a transaction.
A transaction.
It's saying, if I give you everything you need, maybe you won't leave me. Or if I make myself indispensable, I am safe. It's an attempt to control the environment through generosity.
That is a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
You're saying my generosity might be a control mechanism.
If it comes from a place of anxiety, yes. If you feel panic at the thought of not helping, that's not generosity. That's survival. It's fawning. It's a way of saying, please don't hurt me. Look how useful I am.
And the problem is, we usually try to fix these things on the surface level. We
Right.
say, I need to stop being a doormat, or I need to stop snapping at people. We treat the symptom.
Right. We try to correct the reaction, but we aren't looking at the origin. And this leads us to probably the most important point in this entire deep dive, the one that explains why therapy sometimes feels like it hits a wall.
The question of insight. The notes have this specific question. If I'm so self-aware, if I know all my patterns, why am I still exhausted?
I think everyone listening has felt that. You read the books, you know your triggers, you can explain exactly why you're doing what you're doing, and then you do it anyway.
Or you feel the panic anyway.
Yes.
You have the map, but you're still lost in the woods.
And the answer from inner astrology is this. The moon does not respond to insight. It responds to safety.
Whoa. So I need you to say that again. That feels important.
The moon does not respond to insight, it responds to safety. You cannot think your way into emotional regulation if regulation was never learned by your body. The moon is the somatic self, the bodily
So
self.
it's not mental.
It's not. You can
Right.
have a PhD in psychology, understanding everything about your childhood, but if your nervous system still perceives a threat, it will react.
That is incredibly relieving, actually,
Mm-hmm.
because it explains the gap between knowing and feeling.
It explains why trying to heal the moon by becoming a better version of the sun, trying to will yourself into wellness, trying to CEO your way out of anxiety
That's
doesn't
it.
work.
It just makes you functional but strained.
Functional but strained.
Yeah.
That is the perfect description of modern adulthood for so many people. You become capable, but you're tense. You're holding it all together with your mind, but your body is screaming.
So you can't outthink it.
You can't. You see, the mind operates at the speed of light, but the body, the moon, is dense. It's water and earth. It moves slower. You can't drag it along. You have to make it feel safe enough to move on its own.
So if the moon is the core of this struggle, the inner child, essentially, who are the other players? Because the outline mentions a supporting cast, the moon doesn't work alone.
Right. We can't look at the moon in isolation. We have to look at the tools the moon uses to protect itself. And the first line of defense is the ascendant, or the rising sign.
The rising sign, usually described as the mask you wear or the first impression you give.
And mask is a decent metaphor, but in this context, armor is better. Or a spacesuit.
Armor, I like that.
The ascendant is not just a social face. It is a protective posture. It is how you learn to move through the world safely.
So if the moon is the tender, vulnerable inside, the ascendant is the shell.
Yes. And think about the different types of armor. Some people learned that to be safe, they had to be strong. Maybe they have a fiery ascendant Aries, Leo, Sagittarius.
So they come out swinging.
They learn to be assertive, maybe even aggressive, to keep threats away. Their armor says, don't mess with me.
What about the nice people, the ones who are always charming?
That's a different kind of armor. A Libra or Pisces rising might have learned that if I am pleasant, if I am charming, nobody will hurt me. It's fawning as a defense mechanism. It's the don't shoot, I'm friendly posture.
Or the disappearing act?
Yes, learning to be invisible. A Scorpio rising, perhaps? Learning to be a ghost? Or learning to excel the Capricorn rising who wears competence as armor. If I am perfect, if I am in charge, I am safe. The key is the ascendant is the interface between your vulnerable self and the unpredictable world.
And the notes mention that we often feel disconnected from our ascendant, like we don't realize we're doing it.
Because it's reflexive. It activates the moment the moon feels threatened. You don't decide to put on the armor just slides into place.
So it's automatic.
Totally. That's why people can come across as intimidating or aloof when they actually feel terrified inside. The armor is doing its job, even if the person inside feels tiny.
It's why someone might say to you, you seem so put together, and you're thinking, I'm falling apart.
Exactly. They are seeing the ascendant. You are feeling the moon.
Okay, so we have the moon, the need, the ascendant, the armor. What about the mind? What about Mercury?
Mercury is fascinating in this context. Usually we think of Mercury as communication style, but here we view Mercury as mental regulation.
Mental regulation.
It shows how the mind manages discomfort.
Managing discomfort with the mind. Is this where overthinking comes in?
Absolutely. Things like obsessively analyzing a conversation you just had, or rehearsing a future argument in the shower, or needing to explain yourself over and over.
Oh, that's a big one.
These aren't just bad intellectual habits, they are attempts to calm the moon.
We are trying to control the feeling with a thought.
Exactly. If I can just figure this out, if I can just find the logic, then the scary feeling will go away. Understanding your Mercury placement shows you how you try to do this. A Virgo Mercury might try to analyze the details to death. A Gemini Mercury might try to talk it out with 10 different people. A Scorpio Mercury might try to dig for the secret truth.
But the punchline here is, it doesn't usually work, does it?
It's often unsuccessful because, again, you cannot solve an emotional problem with an intellectual tool. You can't think your feelings away. But the attempt is structural. It's what you learned to do. It was likely rewarded in school, so you kept doing it.
And then there's Venus, usually the planet of love and romance. But in the survival map, it plays a different role.
It does. Here, Venus represents the search for safety and reassurance. It reveals how you try to feel okay, often through other people. It's the planet of bonding.
So it's not just who I'm attracted to, it's what do I need from you to feel stable?
Yes. Many attachment patterns originate here. If your Venus is in a sign that craves deep fusion like Scorpio or Cancer, you might feel unsafe if there is any distance in a relationship.
You need that constant connection.
Right. But if your Venus values independence, like Aquarius or Sagittarius, you might feel unsafe if someone gets too close, perceiving it as a trap. It's not driven by desire in the fun sense, it's driven by deficiency. We seek in others what we can't self-soothe.
It's like we are outsourcing our regulation to our partners.
We are, and that transitions us perfectly into relationships. Because if our charts are survival maps, what happens when two maps collide? The outline talks about the descendant and repetition.
This is the hard truth about relationships. We tend to repeat patterns.
Mm.
And we usually blame the other people.
Always.
Why do I always date narcissists? Why do I always end up with people who need saving?
Right. We think we have bad luck. The universe is punishing me.
But the descendant, the point opposite your rising sign, represents the type of people who act as your emotional structure. Not necessarily the people who are good for you, but the people who touch what is unresolved.
They touch the open wound. They are the salt.
And the tricky part, the really dangerous part, is that this activation feels like chemistry.
Oh, say more about that. Activation feels like chemistry.
It works like this. If you grew up in a chaotic home, your nervous system is calibrated to a certain level of adrenaline and uncertainty. If you meet a calm, stable, reliable partner, your nervous system might scan them and say, boring, no data here.
There's no spark.
Right. But someone who is unpredictable, someone who runs hot and cold, bam, your system lights up. I know this. This feels like home, even if home hurt.
So we aren't necessarily looking for happiness. We are looking for familiarity.
We are looking to resolve the old story. We unconsciously hire actors to play the roles in our unresolved childhood plays, hoping this time we can write a different ending.
Wow.
Maybe this time I can make the distant partner love me. Maybe this time I can save the chaotic partner.
That is heavy, but it makes so much sense. It explains why we stay in things that hurt. We're trying to fix the past in the present.
Trying to win a game that ended decades ago.
We are trying to get the victory we couldn't get when we were 5.
Speaking of things that hurt, we have to talk about the scary stuff in astrology. The technical terms that make people panic. The hard aspects. The squares. The oppositions.
The boogeymen of the chart?
Yeah. If you go to a typical astrologer or even just a computer-generated report, they might look at a Moon-Saturn square and go, ooh, that's tough. Good luck with that.
The dreaded bad placements. In inner astrology, we reframe these completely. We have to.
For the listener who doesn't know, just quickly, what is a square?
A square is when two planets are at a 90-degree angle. It creates tension. It's like two people trying to get through a door at the same time.
And an opposition.
An opposition is 180 degrees, a tug of war.
Okay, so these represent friction.
Yes. But friction isn't bad. Friction is how you create movement. You can't walk without friction on the ground. Hard aspects represent effort. They show where adaptation required tension.
So a Moon-Saturn square isn't a curse?
No, it's a story. For example, a Moon-Saturn hard aspect often suggests a childhood where emotional needs, Moon, were met with coldness, rules, or limitation, Saturn.
Like a very strict upbringing.
Very strict. Or maybe a parent was just absent or depressed, so the child learned, I must restrict my feelings to survive. I must be self-reliant. I must not need anything.
Or Moon-Pluto. I've heard that one is intense.
Moon-Pluto often suggests an environment where emotions were dangerous or volatile. Maybe there were power struggles. The child learned to be intense, secretive, or hyper-controlled to survive the intensity.
So it was a record of the battle.
These aren't curses. They are scars. And scars are just proof of healing. They are proof that you survived something.
I love that shift. Understanding them transforms shame into context. It's not, I'm messed up because I have this square. It's, I had to work really hard to adapt to this specific challenge.
Precisely. It validates the struggle. It says, of course this is hard for you. Look at the map. You've been hiking up a mountain while everyone else was walking on flat ground. It stops you from comparing your struggle to someone else's ease.
So we've mapped out the terrain. We understand the sun, the moon, the armor, the repetition. But the big question remains. Integration. How do we find relief? Because the source material asks a question that haunts me. Why does life feel hard even when life is fine?
That is the phantom struggle. You get the promotion, you have the nice house, the partner is great, and you're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
You're just scanning the horizon.
You're scanning the horizon for a fire that isn't there.
Why does that happen? Why can't we just enjoy the good times?
Because structure does not disappear just because the environment changes. That is the critical takeaway of this whole episode. Your nervous system was wired for a specific environment, your childhood. If you move to a new, safe environment, your wiring doesn't automatically update.
It's like old software on new hardware.
It's like running Windows 95 on a brand new MacBook. The survival patterns persist until safety is integrated.
And safety cannot be forced.
It cannot. You can't scream at yourself to relax. Relax now. That's not how safety works. That just adds more pressure. You can't command the moon.
So what is the shift? What does astrology actually offer us if it can't magically fix the chart? We can't delete a moon square.
No, you keep the chart. But astrology offers recognition. And recognition is the antidote to self-blame.
Recognition.
When you look at your chart this way, you stop asking, what is wrong with me? And you start asking, what did I learn to do to survive?
What did I learn to do to survive? That question feels much softer.
It softens everything. When you see your anxiety not as a defect, but as the vigilance that kept you safe when you were 5, you can look at it with compassion. You can say, thank you. I know you're trying to help, but we're safe now.
It changes the relationship to the experience. You stop fighting yourself. You stop trying to kill the bad parts of you.
You stop fighting yourself. You realize that you were never broken. That is the final, most important point of the source text. You were never broken.
Say that again.
You were never broken. You adapted intelligently to emotional conditions that were out of your control. Your chart doesn't show your limitations, it shows your resilience.
It's a map of resilience.
Yes. Life feels hard not because you are failing, but because survival is not the same as safety. You are really good at surviving. You are a pro at surviving. The work now is learning how to be safe.
And understanding that difference is the first moment of relief.
It is. It allows you to put down the bat. You don't have to beat the bad habits out of yourself. You just have to understand why they arrived in the first place. You treat your chart like a blueprint of a fortress you built. It was a great fortress. But maybe now you want to build a garden.
This has been such an incredible journey through the chart. It really demystifies the whole thing. I feel like I need to go look at my own chart with completely new eyes.
I hope everyone listening does. Look at your moon. Look at your rising. Don't look for the horoscope prediction. Don't look for when will I get rich. Look for the child who is trying to figure out how to be okay.
To recap where we've been, we started with that unnamed heaviness, the feeling that life is harder than it should be. We debunked the idea that this is just about your sun sign or your identity.
Right.
We dove into the birth chart as a survival map, a record of how your nervous system adapted to early conditions. We looked at the moon as the seat of unmet needs, the ascendant as the armor we wear, and Mercury and Venus as the tools we use to manage the anxiety.
And we touched on how those patterns repeat in relationships and why the struggle persists even when things are good, because the structure remains.
But ultimately, this isn't a life sentence, it's an explanation. And that explanation brings compassion.
Compassion is the key. You cannot heal what you hate. You have to understand it first.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a provocative thought, something to take with you into your week.
I want you to think about that concept of safety versus survival. Most of us are experts at survival. We know how to grit our teeth, how to perform, how to hide, how to anticipate danger. We are professionals at surviving.
But very few of us know how to feel safe.
Very few.
So what should the listener do, practically speaking?
The next time you catch yourself doing that thing you hate, overthinking, shutting down, snapping at your partner, instead of getting angry at yourself, take a beat. Pause.
Just pause.
And just say to that part of you, I see you. I know you are trying to keep me safe. Thank you for your service.
Treat it with respect.
Acknowledge that the behavior is an attempt at safety, even if it's a clumsy one.
Acknowledge that the war is over, even if the body hasn't realized it yet.
Exactly. Treat your nervous system like a veteran returning home. It needs time, it needs patience, and it needs to know the war is done. It doesn't need to be yelled at.
I love that. The war is over. That is a powerful place to end. Thank you so much for breaking this down with us today. This was a really special one.
My pleasure. It's important work.
And thank you for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.